Hello, it is Tuesday, February 1st, 2022. I'm Chris Remo, and welcome back to the New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. It is a Tuesday puzzle, and it's the first day of the new month, which I suppose doesn't necessarily mean anything with respect to the puzzle itself, but it does mean that the Patreon month has ticked over. And on that note, I would like to thank a few benefactors of the Daily Solve Patreon campaign for bringing us this edition of the Daily Solve. So thank you to Resme, to Jake Rodkin, and, as always, to the inestimable Hood Monster for their valuable and much appreciated support. And thank you to everybody who has backed the Patreon campaign at any level, at any time. It's the way you can directly support this channel and help it be a sustainable part of my daily work going forward. If you'd like to find out more about that, you can at patreon.com/dailysolve. And of course, there's a link in the description field underneath the video as well. All patrons get access to the full suite of bonus video solves that have gone up over the months and the new ones that go up each week. And benefactors, in addition to this recognition on these videos, get the Let's Check the Crosses mug, exclusive Daily Solve mug. So, what else? Today, well, do hang around to the end of the video if you'd like to see comments from yesterday's puzzle, yesterday's clues. But today I did want to mention something sort of extraordinary that's happened in the world of word games, which is that Wordle, the popular word guessing game that I also now solve on this channel every day in my short 60-second Wordle solve videos, it has been sold. It's been acquired by the New York Times company for a low 7-digit sum, so at least $1 million payout to the Wordle guy, whose name is actually Josh Wardle, which is where the name Wordle comes from. It's derived from his last name, portmanteau of his last name, and word, obviously. And there's been quite a lot of discussion about it, unsurprisingly, because Wordle has been ubiquitous on social media for months now. And some people are sort of upset. They're blaming Wordle for selling out, or they're lamenting the imminent demise of the game. I have to say, honestly, as someone who, so my professional career is in the video game industry. I'm a video game designer and composer and writer, and there are so many horrible ways that acquisition of people's creative work can happen. I mean, there are so many terrible outcomes that lead to the product getting degraded and infested with ads or maintained poorly, or not respected. There's so many ways that can happen that, honestly, it being acquired by the creator of the preeminent word game on the planet, the New York Times Crossword, which I have to say is the best and smoothest crossword solving software I've encountered. I think there are worse fates for Wordle. Certainly. So I understand why people are upset that this thing that was this pure, completely free and independent little game is no longer that. I do understand that. I think that's fair enough to lament. But honestly, in the creator's situation, if you were offered potentially millions of dollars for your little thing by a company that has a 70-year track record of producing very high-quality word games, it's not going to get better than that. There's not going to be a better offer than that, realistically. There's probably not going to be an offer for more money, and there's probably not going to be an offer for any amount of money by a better-suited organization, at least not for an amount of money that would have competed with any of his other offers. I think it's fair play. I think it's a reasonable outcome. The Times says they'll keep it free. They haven't said how long. I mean, maybe years from now, it'll end up behind the New York Times paywall. Who knows? It may not. But realistically, one of the other things I know from working in a creative field for, I guess, my whole adult life at this point, is that things fall in and out of fashion. And Wordle isn't going to stay the social media phenomenon that it is right now forever. It may actually end up getting more long-term attention and support by being part of the New York Times company. Anyway, I had a 60-second version of these thoughts that I tossed up on a YouTube short on the channel this morning in the Wordle playlist. I didn't mean to go on about it at great length on this video as I just did, but hopefully you don't object too strenuously. I'm sorry. I apologize for those of you who watch these videos and have no idea what Wordle is and have no interest in Wordle and are just here for the crossword. So let's move on to that. Let's get on to the crossword. This is, of course, a Tuesday puzzle, so still a fairly gentle puzzle and still themed, and was constructed by Joachim Bernakel. I'm sorry, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that very poorly. Edited, as always, by Will Shorts. And looking at this, it's a sort of unusual grid. Sorry, I should mention that Bernakel, this constructor, has done, I think, I certainly recognize her name, and I think she's done dozens and dozens of New York Times crosswords, so quite an experienced constructor. Anyway, sorry, I was just looking at the grid and noticing that it's quite unusual in a few respects. One, it has symmetry about a vertical axis, whereas most New York Times crosswords are radially or diagonally symmetrical. This one is vertically, so if you folded the grid around about its vertical axis, the two sides would match, and that's unusual. Also, it looks like it's an unusual aspect ratio. It looks like it's taller and skinnier than an average crossword. Is it? Yeah, I think it's 14 across by 16 down, whereas it would ordinarily be 15 by 15 square. So that probably means that might mean there's a 14-letter word that the constructor needed to get in to span the entire grid. There are probably reasons thematically that this needs to be the way it is. We'll just have to see. I won't delay it any further. Let's get on with it. I'm curious to know what is going on with this strange grid. Okay. Smurf with red pants. I have no idea. I don't know. Papa Smurf, Mama Smurf. I think there were Smurfs with those names. I mean, not those names, but presumably they had real names as well. I actually don't know. Do they have real names? Days Gone By could be your, maybe. So maybe it's not Papa or Mama Smurf. I don't know that I've actually ever seen an episode of the Smurfs. Homecoming guest, informally. I don't know about any of this. Let's move on for now. Performed in a choir could be sang or sung, I suppose. Sheepdog's greeting, harf maybe? It's a little vague. Old Couch's problem could be sag. And Algeria has the largest one among African countries. Oh, area, perhaps. And formally called is nay. This has come up a few times in the crossword recently. Borrowed from the French for born, so put it before a name that someone no longer uses to indicate that that is a former name of theirs, by which they're no longer known. Methane, e.g., methane, for instance, is a gas. Oh, okay, so here we have Chinese New Year celebrated on February 1st, 2022. Festival, looks like festival, right? I celebrated Chinese New Year with some friends on Sunday at a really excellent dim sum restaurant here in London, and it was wonderful. Okay, so let's see. Can we use any of these festival crosses? By now could be ta-ta. That seems likely. An uptight type. Uptight type. I don't know, someone who's prim or prissy, but I don't know there isn't really a good noun that matches those that fits in this area. What about wander around? Could be rove, could be roving and roaming. Mogadishu-born model and cosmetics mogul. Is it Iman, I believe? And, overly proper, prim. That's funny. That's sort of one of the words I was thinking about when it comes to being uptight, which is sort of relevant. So we've got two related clues crossing, overly proper and uptight type. And a capital where natives say arrivederci. It could be Rome or Roma if it's in Italian, but it's probably not in Italian because everything else in the clue is in English, and usually if this would be the Italian form, we'd get a little bit more in Italian to indicate as such. I'm wrong. It is Roma because brewing ingredient is malt, so go figure. Well, at least I considered it. Stars negotiator, an agent. Oh, an uptight type is a prig. There we go. Yes, I do, of course, know that word, but I couldn't bring it to mind for some reason. A prig, someone who's got a stick up there. And stars negotiator agent, right. What about this? Have we seen this yet? No. Lines at a theater. Now, sometimes the problem I have with the question mark, which is a pun or not anagram, sorry, it's the pun or wordplay indicator. So we shouldn't read this with the surface meaning. The problem is sometimes I'm not sure which is the meaning I'm supposed to ignore. I'm not sure if the crossword constructor assumes that my mind would first go to lines at a theater, meaning spoken lines, the words a character speaks, the stage play, or if they assume I will think that they mean people lined up in order to purchase tickets at the box office or something like that. I don't know which of these the constructor assumes is the more obvious meaning, so I'm not sure which meaning to ignore. So I might have to leave it for now. Quick bite could be a nosh. And a trunk in a studio. Trunk in a studio. Trunk. No. So if Days Gone By is your, does that help trunk in a studio? Don't really know what that is. Pedigree competitor. I think pedigree is, I mean, among other things, obviously, but a competitor of it would probably suggest this is a proper noun, so maybe a brand. And I think pedigree is a brand of dog food. So Iams, maybe? Oh, I don't know. Maybe Days Gone By is old? Something's not fitting somewhere here. What am I not seeing? This is a Tuesday. I shouldn't be struggling with this so much. 3 down is a sound from a contented cat. It could be a purr. And Smurf with red pants. Oh, maybe it is Papa Smurf after all. Times Arrow novelist Martin. Is it Martin Amis? Oh, trunk in a studio is a torso. I see. So a person's trunk. Okay, that was more straightforward than I was making it. And a studio, perhaps because it would be sculpted or maybe model. I mean, someone could be sitting, I suppose, for a painting of a torso. It would be sort of odd, but maybe. Oh, Alpo. Alpo is also a dog food or general pet food brand, right? Pedigree competitor. Maybe it's Alpo. Oh, sorry. Chinese New Year's Spring Festival. I don't know why I didn't think to put that in earlier. I'm sorry. And Days Gone By is the past. And a homecoming guest informally is an alumnus of a school, I suppose. That must be. So former student of a school is home for the homecoming celebration, I guess. Is that what that? I guess that's what that means. I never really thought about that before. Okay, lines at a theater, right? I'm not sure. So we've got New Year theme. So it's inspired by Chinese New Year, the theme, but it looks like we have other New Years in the grid, and maybe we'll have a few. So Jewish New Year celebrated on September 25th, 2022. I'm actually not sure. Sorry. Let's keep looking. Nevada's third largest city. I don't know. Is it Reno? If it is, I don't know what the second largest city is. Sorry, my phone is going crazy. Let me just make sure nothing incredibly important is happening. This seems okay. Okay, a long way off could be afar. Follow as orders could be obey orders. Affirmatives, yeses, I suppose. And if something became threadbare, it wore maybe. Not very confident about that. What about this? Oh, okay. We do have quite a few New Years. Iranian New Year celebrated on March 21st, 2022. I don't know. I might remove war. And here we have explanatory page on a company's website. About us, maybe. Common name for a page. And the president between Calvin and Franklin. Why cannot I bring this to mind? Oh, their first name, sorry. Herbert Hoover. Okay. That's a tricky one if you don't have that American cultural context for sure. So maybe became threadbare is war. And then what are these? Barbecue spice mixes could be rubs. You could have a dry rub. And the Pac-12 team. So Pac-12, this is a university athletics, what is it, a conference? Is that what you call it? The Utes from Utah, I think. And clear skies color. Oh, azure. Very clear blue. And an organization on a mouthwash bottle. ADA, the American Dental Association, presumably, came to a halt. If something came to a halt, it ended. It's something maybe ED, though, in the past. 53, messed up, could be aired. And to tear to pieces could be to rend something. To go in could be to enter. Fashion designer Tahari, I probably don't know this name at all. What about 60? A stadium level could be a tier. You could have a tiered stadium. And like ballet dancers, they're agile, I suppose. My first thought was lithe, but that doesn't fit. Unit of yarn. What, a skein, right? Skein of yarn. Is that valid here? Fashion designer Eli Tahari. That, I don't know. Plausible, I suppose. What is this? Came to a halt. Oh, ceased. Yes. And blank warrior, eco warrior, maybe. Environmental activist. That seems plausible. To not attend. To what? To not attend. Skip. And a bit of a dance could be a step. A tool on a fire truck is an axe, I suppose. To prepare for takeoff as a plane taxis the apron. Often technically erroneously called the tarmac. I mean, no one cares. It's fine if you call it the tarmac, but more properly known as the apron because the tarmac is material that is actually no longer used for that purpose, I believe. Dynamite K-pop band is BTS. I've heard of them. Can't say I'd recognize any songs, but I certainly know they exist. And a big toucan feature is a beak. Toucans have big beaks. And didn't see this clue. Dine is eat. That looks all right. Squared up. Eyed, maybe? You could square someone up. You eye them. You take their measure, I suppose. Maybe not. Fight for. Yeah, maybe. Perhaps not. Because fight for looks like vie for, maybe. And squared up is even. Yeah, okay. So there we go. It's just a different sense of what it means to square something up, to even it out in this case. So as I often say, but haven't said as often recently, always consider other senses of a word that might not be the one that was the first to come to your mind, because there's no reason you'll just happen to come up with the correct one first. And I still struggle with this all the time, despite having solved New York Times crossword every day for many years. Pointy-eared toy maker would be an elf in Santa's workshop. If one is highly skilled, one is deft. Peter Parker in Spider-Man, for one. Is he a nerd? I guess he's probably a nerd. To tick someone off is to rile them, and an acrobat's safeguard is a net. So, let's see. What was this? Oh, Thai New Year, celebrated on April 13th, 2022. Songkran. Okay, I don't know that. I'm totally unfamiliar with that word, so it's fortunate, I suppose, that I got it in crosses. We'll have to, let me just double check these, because since I can't really check this against my own knowledge, I'm going to double check the crosses. Not attend, skip. Thai New Year, no, sorry. Eco warrior, environmental activist. Go in is to enter. Ballet dancers are agile. A unit of yarn is a skein. This is the one that I'm least confident about, but I'm still quite confident. I'm confident enough. Messed up is aired, and the organization on a mouthwash bottle is the ADA. I mean, here's another one that, I don't know, it could be something else, but this seems pretty plausible. American Dental Association, I would bet that's the case. And Peter Parker is a nerd, probably. So there we have it. Okay. Haggard of country music. I certainly recognize Merle Haggard, classic country music artist. Oh boy, more New Year's. Look at this. Wow, there's so many. This is really interesting. Korean New Year, celebrated on February 1st, 2022. Oh, so the same date as Chinese New Year, which I suppose makes sense. Okay, government in power. Oops, government in power. Not sure. Nevada's third largest city. List ending abbreviation could be et al. Oh, and the others. Impudence, sass, maybe. A big seller of flat pack furniture is IKEA. And an approximate figure is an estimate. I was going to say ETA for some reason, but estimate is a more general term for an approximate figure. Government, what is it? Government in power. I don't know. I must have something wrong. Movie do-overs are retakes. Standing guard is at alert. Oh, I do. I have sass. Sass is not correct. So at alert, although retakes is correct. Impudence is what? Talk? Doesn't really seem quite right. Nevada's third largest city. Oh, maybe it is Reno after all. And maybe this isn't, standing guard isn't at alert, but on alert perhaps. Oh, Rosh Hashanah. Must be the Jewish New Year. And then Iranian New Year is Nowruz. God, that sort of looks like that word rings a bell, but I never in a million years would have brought it to mind. So again, glad I got it through crosses, and maybe I will double check those crosses just to be sure. Double cross. Follow as orders is to obey. Became threadbare is war. Barbecue spice mixes are rubs. The Pac-12 team is the Utes, and a clear sky is azure. That all seems fine. Government in power. Oh, a regime, of course. Okay, a regime is in power. And impudence is gall. There we go. The gall that Wordle man had to sell his game for millions of dollars. That's fair enough. And that gives us Korean New Year as Solal. I don't think this is one I know. So again, I will double check the crosses. Rosh Hashanah seems right. Reno seems right. List ending et al. Seems right. Impudence is gall. IKEA sells flat pack furniture, and Merle Haggard of country music looks correct. So there we go. All seems fine. Tourney winners are what? Probably ends with an S. Blackthorn fruit could be. Is that slow? That berry used in slow gin. And tennis's Nadal is Rafael Nadal. Look at that, a sports answer I know. I guess two of them actually, because they're the Utes, which I wouldn't have known, I think, off the top of my head that the Utes are in the Pac-12, but I was able to at least arrive at the name Utes through some crosses, which is a tribal name as well. Thumbs down, I say no, I suppose. And a sentence segment is a phrase. Yes, of course. Took me a moment. Pigs' hangouts are pens. You could have a pig pen. And the Good Place actress Rudolph is Maya Rudolph, married to Paul Thomas Anderson, whose new film, Licorice Pizza, I very much enjoyed. Tourney winners are champs, and lines at a theater are a script. Okay, so I suppose what this means, it's funny that this is the ending answer here. I suppose what this means with a question mark is that the constructor assumes that our first thought when we see lines at a theater will be people lining up at the box office or something like that. And therefore, the question mark means, no, it's not that. It's a punnier meaning. It doesn't mean people lined up at the box office. It means the lines you read from the script, and that's the pun. And it's fair enough. I mean, I don't object to it, but I honestly, either direction would have seemed entirely plausible to me. So with this kind of answer, I always find it sort of difficult to know what exactly I should be deriving from that question mark pun indicator. Anyway, tourney winners are champs. We're the champs of this crossword, and there we have it. So there's the Tuesday puzzle. That was a really fun and interesting theme, and I think made for maybe a more challenging than usual Tuesday puzzle, because I'm going to guess most people might be familiar with a few of these phrases, but probably not every single one of them. I mean, I certainly was a far cry from that. So we had Chinese New Year, celebrated on February 1st, 2022, the Spring Festival. Jewish New Year, September 25th, Rosh Hashanah. Korean New Year on February 1st, Solal, today. Iranian New Year on March 21st, Nowruz. And Thai New Year on April 13th, Songkran. And I think that's all of them. Don't think I'm missing any. So that's incredibly interesting. So quite a few things to look up and learn about, I suppose. I would say even more so than a typical New York Times crossword, at least most likely for most people, I'm guessing. Not all of these would be known. Maybe a few of them would be, though. And it was interesting. It meant that and again, I suspect most people, going to be heavily dependent on crosses in this puzzle. There are things that could be tough there. Things like Utes and Reno, maybe, could be tough crosses. Could be some tough crosses on this puzzle. Maybe one of the tougher ones would be Skyne and Songkran, when you just have no idea what this word needs in order to complete it. If you don't know what this is, I don't know. It could be tough. It's a slightly obscure word, I would say, in this context, maybe. I mean, it's arguable, but I would say it's maybe a bit of a tough one. And then it itself also crosses another proper noun with fashion designer Tahari. So I would say this is probably on the more challenging end of a Tuesday puzzle. Let me know how you fared. And I'm curious how many of these various worldwide New Year's people already knew, and how many they had to get purely through crosses, like I did for several. Let me know. Very curious. Very interesting puzzle. Very unusual New York Times puzzle, I would say. And I suppose, let's see, why was it this shape? I guess it really was to fit in Spring Festival. Right, and then Rosh Hashanah as well. So Spring Festival obviously would have fit in a 15 by 15 puzzle as well. But then if you did the sort of standard square grid with diagonal symmetry, I suspect it would have gotten very, very difficult to also fit this in, which is also a very long answer, but of different length. So you would have needed an additional, you would have needed at least one more 14 cell answer and at least one more, 12 letter answer, or one of them would have had to be in the middle of the grid. Anyway, sorry, I'm not going to keep explaining this because this is not very interesting, but I understand. I see why it would have been extremely difficult to put this into a rotationally symmetrical crossword grid. Anyway, well done, and I hope you enjoyed the puzzle. Let's quickly discuss yesterday's clues. In fact, I think there actually may only have been one. It was a Monday puzzle, so fewer things about which to be educated. That probably won't be the same tomorrow. Tomorrow there will be more for me to learn. But as far as yesterday goes, Bryce Dibley explains that the Toronto Raptors name was voted on in early 1994 from a list of 11 options. I was wondering with the Toronto Raptors answer, I was wondering, is it Raptor because TOR from Toronto is found within Raptor? Probably not. Anyway, Bryce Dibley says it's generally accepted that it won over names like the Bobcats and the Terriers because of a certain dinosaur movie that came out a few months earlier. Indeed, seems likely enough. So thank you for that, and thank you for joining me until the end of this puzzle. For this video anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do subscribe to the channel, and please pass along this series to a friend or online acquaintance or your online community of choice if you think it might be appreciated by that person or that in that place. And if you would like to chat with others in this community, you can head over to the Daily Solve Discord chat server. There's a link in the description field underneath the video, and Patreon subscribers, of course, get an extra channel in that Discord, but otherwise it's free for everybody to join. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow for the Wednesday puzzle. I hope you'll join me then. But until that point, please do have an excellent remainder of your Tuesday. Take care.